Hello and welcome to Merryweather Knitting. My name is Gabriella and I'm coming to you from my home in Germany, where I'm so excited to chat with you about all of the knitting and crafting adventures I've gotten up to this last week. If you're a new viewer, welcome. It's so lovely to have you, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here again. Today I have a new cast on to share with you, as well as a finished object, which will come as no surprise if you've seen the last couple of podcast episodes. Without further ado, I think I'll begin. I will get my tea as well though. I'm drinking green tea, or actually technically I think it's white tea, but it's the tea we drink every single morning. My husband Nick and I, he kind of got me into this tea, and it's just now our morning tea, and it's the perfect thing to drink when you first wake up in the morning. It's super light and earthy and just really a wonderful treat. I'm still drinking it because it's still morning. And we had quite a long night, I had quite a long night last night because Esmeralda, my little baby daughter, has a cold. So she was up all through the night, which, you know, I feel very, very sorry for her. My heart breaks for her, but I think she'll get over it soon. Hopefully it means that today is filled with lots of naps and lots of cozy reading and snuggles, which I don't mind at all. And maybe even a little bit of extra knitting time for me, because we won't, we'll be staying home and just being all warm and cozy here. Maybe sitting outside a little bit to get some sunshine, but I want to share with you, I think I'm going to share with you my progress first, then I'll share with you my finished object, then I'll close with my new cast on, which I'm very excited to share with you. So, okay, the first thing I'll share with you is my Elizabeth I, which, oh my gosh, I am at the point in this project where I'm just so excited to have it really finished. Thankfully, there were some increases in this sleeve. I'm on the sleeves now. If you haven't seen the last couple of episodes, I'm on the sleeves. So there have been some increases, which kind of saved me, because I feel like if I have some counting to do or some kind of patterning to do, it really helps me kind of stay engaged and want to continue to knit. It kind of pushes me forward, whereas if I'm just knitting stockinette for miles, it doesn't feel that motivating. I don't like to just measure the centimeters and I feel like, oh, I've made it half a centimeter, another half. It doesn't feel like I see much progress, unless, I'm in a situation where I can bring it along and I can kind of mindlessly knit while doing other things, but I haven't been in that position lately, so I don't know. I've wanted some interest. So those little increase rows were so helpful and kind of pushed me forward a little bit. And so now these are how the sleeves look now. That's a pretty big difference from last week. I feel like with sleeves, you can hardly see it. It's like just these huge, massive pieces of fabric. You can't always see the progress, but it's there. And I'm just a couple of centimeters away from beginning to shape for, the armholes here over the shoulders. So I'm really excited, and it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love the fabric. I'm going to show it to you up close so you can see it a little bit better. It's, curling in a little bit, but there it is, this gorgeous fabric, and you can really see the colorway, and it just kind of shines on this gorgeous piece of stockinette. So I'm a huge fan of this yarn. This is the Hebridean 2-ply yarn from Virtual Yarns, which is the Starmore yarn company, and this is the colorway Macaire, which is just so gorgeous. I could not be more pleased with this yarn, and the colorway is breathtaking. I'm so excited, and I think with this pattern I'm really going to wear this a lot, especially because of the colorway. I think the colorway kind of just brings it down a little bit, makes it a little bit more wearable for me. I do love bright colors, and I do love kind of statement colors, but in general I feel like a good earthy tone, or like an earth tone, an earth shade, or a neutral, a warm neutral, I will wear pretty much daily. I do like bright colors though, but cool neutrals I feel like don't suit me very well. So I feel like if I have a warm neutral or this kind of green earthy shade, it's going to be an absolute staple for me. So I'm so enjoying this project. This is the Elizabeth I pattern from the Tudor Roses book by Alice Starmore, which is a gorgeous book. Everything will be linked in the show notes, which will be linked below. thank you for all the encouragement with my website and my blog, merryweatherliving.com. I'm so excited about it. It's just a very little tiny baby right now. It's just really just show notes on there. But I'm excited about kind of expanding it and using it as a journal and kind of a creative journal for myself and my creative projects and processes. So yeah, thankful for all those of you who commented and mentioned on Instagram or here on YouTube that you liked seeing it. So the next thing I want to share with you though, my little finished object, is this little baby bear balaclava that I knit up for my daughter Esmeralda for her little winter wardrobe. Kind of, you know, she needed a little hat, and I thought, what a fun, cute pattern. I was really excited to buy a pattern from Knitting for Olive. They are an amazing company, an amazing yarn company, and also pattern company, and I really appreciate them and really like their patterns and their yarn. So this is not knit out of Knitting for Olive yarn, unfortunately though. This is knit out of kind of stash yarn that I had. And it is knit out of a homespun house sock yarn on the banks of Plum Creek colorway. I think it was from a kind of a kit, or I don't know what it's called, one of these yarn clubs from a few years ago. I didn't even have the yarn club. I think I bought this yarn on sale a long time ago. And it's a gorgeous colorway with cute little like speckles of, it's like little speckles of kind of, you can see little pink and kind of green shades and purples. And it's held double around this waistband with just a plain cream colored yarn. You can see I have an end in here which I need to kind of weave in a little bit better, or maybe, maybe I need to trim it. But I just love this homespun house yarn, and it's held double with Filcolana Tilia yarn in the colorway, I think it's called Madeira Rose. I'm not sure, I think that's the name of the yarn. The colorway, everything will be linked properly in the show notes and listed there properly. But I love the marled look. I think it's so cute, and just marling is really a lot of fun. I'm not always in the mood for it. I'm not always in the mood for, that effect, but I was right now, and when I'm in the mood for it, I really love it. It really makes the knitting process all the more fun and all the more special for me. I really enjoy it. So this pattern was a really fun, very intuitive pattern, although it was really unusual. It wasn't like a bonnet. The construction was completely new for me. I had never knit a balaclava, this complete piece before. I had never knit that before. And this construction was just something that was really new for me and really exciting and fun, but I had to keep looking at the pattern, and that pushed me along. That made me really enjoy the process. I'm in a phase right now where I need some interest. That could change next week, that could change next month. Sometimes I just want stockinette in the round, but right now I like a little bit of like instruction and, unique construction, things that are new for me and challenges for me. And so that was really fun with this little pattern because it was a quick knit, pretty simple, but it also was a totally new construction. So I really enjoyed it, and it's very, very well written. Really incredible pattern. I loved it. I highly recommend knitting this pattern. I didn't knit a gauge swatch, and I chose a size that I wanted to fit her pretty much right away. I wanted to fit her for this autumn, this winter, this spring. I don't want it to be too big for her. I like to knit, so I will knit her up another size when it's the time, and little hats and things are such quick knits that it doesn't bother me to kind of knit one that fits her right away. So I chose the size that was kind of like really her size right now, not the next size up, which in hindsight, especially having not knit a gauge swatch, was maybe a mistake because it ended up being a little bit too small. But I decided to take a risk and try to put a little bit of my kind of knitting experience to the test and do something that I usually wouldn't do, and something that I have always admired other knitters for doing, and that is modifying it midway, adding some short rows and just trying to kind of adjust it. And I did that. I added some short rows because I tried this piece on her head. You knit the whole head first and then you knit the neck. And I had knit the head and I tried it on her head and it looked adorable, but it was coming up super high in the back of her head to the point where I knew, even with a little bit of shaping and everything that was in the pattern, it would still be too small for her, especially in the next 6 months. It would be too small. It would just be super stretched out. And so I decided I would just kind of try throwing in a couple of my own short rows there and creating a little bit of a longer back piece. And so I did that, and I am so impressed with myself. Honestly, I have to be honest with you. I feel kind of proud because I always am amazed when knitters like, you know, are like, yeah, it didn't fit properly, so I just kind of did this modification or that modification. I am still, you know, kind of just stepping out into that world of really using the medium of knitting as kind of my own, just using the tools I have and creating things myself. I'm kind of modifying and using it as a tool. I've, you know, for a long time, I think it's usual when you start to knit, although I know some knitters aren't this way. Some knitters kind of just go for it right away. But for a long time, I felt like kind of limited by patterns. So I really was like, I'm going to follow a pattern. I'm going to do what it tells me, and it's going to turn out well. And there's nothing wrong with that. That was amazing. And I think that's kind of a very relaxing and wonderful way to use, you know, the craft and the art form of knitting, because you can really create beautiful things by just following those gorgeous recipes that are given to us by pattern designers. But I'm excited by, you know, just like in cooking and in the kitchen, I love to kind of add my own twist to things or create things from scratch. And you can't do that unless you have kind of a basic understanding of, you know, flavor profiles, or, you know, different vegetables and fruits and how they work together, and how, you know, how acid and salt can all affect the taste of something, or, you know, all of those different aspects. So you have to have a basic knowledge in order to get to that point. And I think the best way to get that knowledge is to do the thing often. So to cook a lot before you start to make your own recipes. And I think that's the same with, you know, knitting. If you knit a lot, you at some point really get a good kind of grip. You learn the language of, yeah, the craft. And then you can kind of use it to your advantage wherever you want and modify things and shift things around. So I kind of took a step with this project and tried that. So I saw an area of lack. I saw a little, mistake, you could say, or not really mistake, a kind of like a flaw that I felt like I wanted to change because of my mistake in my choosing the pattern size. And I went ahead and I did some short rows. And looking back at when I first had knit them, I thought, oh no, maybe I did way too many, because it looks kind of crazy, but that gap at the back of Esmeralda's head was so huge that I knew, like, okay, it's gonna fill it out. And even if she has to grow into it, it'll like fill it up. But, you know, the back of the head is like very round compared to the front, so there needs to be more space in the back compared to the front. So I kind of like, in my mind, figured it would work, and it did. I knit those short rows, then I continued knitting the neck, and I continued down over to these little shoulder pieces, which it's rolling up right now. I have not yet blocked this. I am going to block it, but I'll get to that in a moment. So that was a very successful little experiment, my little short rows, and I'm very happy and very excited to have tried that out and realized that, you know, actually you can do, like, you can kind of adjust things with patterns. It was just an amazing experience. The one thing I regret, which I mentioned before, is that I didn't do it in ribbing, because the neck is a ribbed neck. And I think if I had done that in ribbing, it would have looked a little bit more cohesive with the rest of the pattern. If it had just gone up in the back a little bit more like ribbing, and then it had gone up her head, that would have been completely fine. I think it looks a little bit wonky with having this kind of cutoff line where I cast off, and then the stockinette piece and then the ribbing. When it's not on her, it looks a little weird. But when it's on her head, it perfectly like rounds out, and you can hardly see. There's a little line, but you wouldn't even really notice it. It looks wonderful because her head just shapes it out like round, and yeah, it looks wonderful on her, and it's so cute. And there are two options for this pattern. There is an option that's just the ribbed neck warmer piece, and then there's an option that is these little over the shoulder kind of shoulder warmers spot. I don't know what it's called exactly, I've forgotten. But you knit, it's almost like the top of a sweater that you knit here, like at the top of a pullover, shaping for the shoulders, for the front and the back. And it's curling up a lot. I did it exactly as directed, but I feel like the ribbing was a little short. I'm going to block it though. I need to block it, like wet block it, I think. And once I do that, I can imagine it might lay flat. And if it doesn't lay flat, I will try it on her with her jacket, and I think zipping up her jacket and kind of laying it on her, I think it'll stay okay. Worst case scenario, I've thought about it and I thought, you know what, worst case scenario, I'm just going to rip back and cast off underneath the ribbed piece because that'll keep it on her neck and it'll be totally warm and totally okay. She doesn't need the shoulder warmers. But I had the yarn and I thought, it's so cute. Why not just, you know, keep going and do that whole complete piece. So I did, and I am happy with it. If it works with the blocking, I think it's going to be super nice, and it'll lay very nicely and keep it nice under her little jacket, her little wool suit. So yeah, I think it'll keep it down and keep her nice and warm, like that little insulation that kind of extends down and connects with the head. I think that'll be so cozy and warm for her. We play in the forest and maybe in the snow. We'll see this year if there's snow. And here in Germany where we live, it's always like, you know, there's always a chance. Last year we had a ton of snow, which was glorious and so much fun. But there have been years where there's hardly been any snow at all. In where I'm from, or where my family lives in the United States, there's always a lot of snow and very, very cold weather. And I love that. I really love winter. Anyway, so amazingly, I had 35 grams of the Homespun House fingering weight yarn that I was marling with this beautiful mohair silk. And I knit up that whole entire 35 grams until I think I had just a little bit left of this piece. And then I knit the rest with just a plain cream fingering weight sock yarn marled. And you can't tell a difference at all. I can't tell a difference. I have no idea where it is that I switched. It must have been like here, because here I see the variegation still. So it must be like this last little piece. But you can hardly tell, and I was amazed that that yarn lasted that long, and I think it was such a cute yarn, so I'm so happy to have given it a little bit of a second life with this little balaclava. So the third project I have for you, and my very new fresh cast on, is one that I've been so excited to cast on since at least the beginning of the year. I got this yarn, I think, at the beginning of the year, and I had put this project in my Make 9, and the Make 9 2021 Make-Along is a Make-Along that I'm participating in, and that's hosted by Amy of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. And you make a board and you post it and you post in the hashtag, and it's really fun to see people's Make 9s, and it's a very relaxed Make-Along where, you know, you kind of just set these kind of goals or dreams, and you can make or not make whatever you want from those Make 9 boards. But I had put this pattern in my Make 9 2021, and a lot of those patterns that I put in my board were, yeah, a little bit too aspirational, a little bit crazy. I did not and will not be able to complete the majority of them, I think, or at least like a lot of them. Working on them, a couple of them for sure, but completing, I'm not so sure. I've completed one of the projects from my Make 9 2021, I think, and I worked on 2 other ones, but yeah, this is the 4th one, I guess, that I think this is the 4th one that I'm working on. But yeah, this is the, it's a little baby pullover pattern, and I am going to say the name and it might be incorrect, so bear with me. The pattern is called the Overvintring Mini, or if I was going to say it in a German accent, the Overvintring or Overvintring Mini. I don't know how it's pronounced properly. I think it's either Danish or Swedish, and the designer's name also eludes me at the moment, but I will put everything in the show notes, of course. It's a very adorable little yoke colorwork mini pullover. And I'll put a photo up so you can see what it looks like. It's a really cute pattern, and I was really excited to knit it. I got the exact yarn that's suggested in the pattern, the exact brand, the exact colorways. The ball bands are nowhere to be found now. They have disappeared, mine. So thankfully I know that I got the exact colorways that the pattern suggests, so I'll be able to list those for you. But I'll show you the yarn first. I have this beautiful Rauma yarn, which is this gorgeous fingering weight, lovely rustic yarn. And I have, I think it's, I forget the name, this is the FT2, I think was on the band. I forget the exact name of this, but like I said, I'll be able to find it because it's the exact yarn in the pattern. And I have these 3 colorways. This is a beautiful let me see, show if I can show you. This is a beautiful green colorway. It's just a gorgeous, lovely foresty green colorway, and this is going to be one part of the motif on the yoke, which I've already started knitting. I'll show you in a moment. And then there's this colorway, which is the body. This is, you know, I have 4 of these balls. These are 50 grams, and I have 4 of them, so that should, yeah, I have about 200 grams for the whole body of the sweater. It's a gorgeous, beautiful little bit of a, I don't know if I could say, kind of a, yeah, it looks like it's a very natural gray, cream, kind of cooler, neutral, natural tone. It's very beautiful. And then I have this colorway as well, which is a gorgeous, oh, there's some fluff and some sagwa cat hair and maybe even some of my hair. So sorry. But this is a beautiful chestnut colorway. I love it. It's the warm brown, and I could see myself using this for lots of different color work projects. Actually, all 3 of these colorways I really like. I'm not sure if they really suit me, but they definitely suit Esmeralda. They will look so beautiful on her. I have started, I cast it on, and yeah, it's knit top down in the round. It's this very cute little, yeah, ribbed neck, and then I've started already on the color work just a tiny bit. We'll see how far I get in the yoke before our next conversation. I feel like this, you know, color work gauge leaves a little bit to be desired. You can see it's a little bit wonky. My color work gauge is really not that wonderful. I have not knit color work in so long, I think in almost a year, and it shows in my gauge. It really, really shows. So I'm glad that this is a baby sweater because it's good practice for me, and I'm glad that it's rustic yarn because I think it'll be maybe hopefully a bit forgiving, you know, to my kind of wonky gauge, but yeah, it's not like it's some kind of a crazy masterpiece colorwork sweater that I'm knitting for me or my husband that's going to be like one of these heirloom pieces we keep forever. I mean, I hope that she wears this a lot, and I hope that maybe other babies after her will wear it, but you know, it's okay if it's not perfect. That's really okay with me. I think it's, you know, nice to have that little bit of practice knitting this, and I do want to knit a colorwork piece for myself. Yeah, a Fair Isle sweater or some piece for myself and or for Nick in the future, in the not so distant future. So I need to practice and get my gauge, you know, good, a little bit better. I need to improve it. But for now, it's okay. I'm really enjoying the process. I really have loved knitting stranded color work again. It's so much fun and so relaxing, and it's just so interesting to have that kind of meditation of doing both of those different, you know, colors. Knitting from the chart, it's really wonderful. So I'm enjoying that very, very much. I also have had a little bit of an issue in the last week with a bit of a knitting injury. Yeah, I've spoken a little bit here and there about kind of my feeling and sense that I might be at risk of developing like a repetitive stress injury with my knitting, because I felt kind of a little bit of numbness and maybe even a little bit of discomfort while knitting. And this week I had a day where I really felt it exactly in my elbow, like up right above my elbow. It was like tingling, pins and needles, and then it ended up kind of really being a little bit painful and sore and tender right there, just this little spot. And so I had to take a break, and I, you know, took a little bit of break from my projects, and I just stepped back from them because I didn't want to irritate it more. And I'm an English knitter. I knit English style, holding the yarn in my right hand. I like, how do you call it? I flick, if you say, I think that's the way you say it, where I hold it, you know, I weave it like this, kind of in my fingers. And I make a small movement when I knit. I think I'm a pretty fast English knitter because of that. I think when we, you know, if you knit English and you kind of hold it, you can just kind of like flick over really easily. Oh, that was actually correct. 3, 4, I have to make sure I don't knit the wrong thing. I think you can knit pretty quickly holding it like that and just kind of moving that little tiny movement over the needle works well for knitting quickly, and it's just the most comfortable, most wonderful, fun way for me to knit. I love it. It's just an amazing feeling, but I have the bad habit of not having my elbows right next to my body, kind of like putting them forward, holding it up, holding it like not really keeping myself in proper alignment, and that has, you know, caught up with me. So I took a break, and then I returned to knitting English a little bit for shorter periods of time for a couple of days and really tried to keep good alignment, and I noticed a difference. I don't know if I'm at the point where I need to like go to a physical therapist and talk about it with them, but I am trying to keep good alignment and not overdo it with that arm. If I feel anything discomfort, like uncomfortable, I stop. But it's so inconvenient and so irritating. If you have ever had that or any kind of knitting repetitive stress injury, please let me know what you've done, what your kind of plan of action is, what you do to cope with it, because it's just no fun to have that get in the way of your knitting practice at all. I really don't like that. I don't like the discomfort, and what I don't like more than the discomfort, because it's not even that bad for me, I don't have, you know, crazy pain or anything, is the feeling of, oh no, I'm like, something's going wrong here and it could inhibit me, and it already inhibits me a little bit. I just don't like it. So I've been very mindful, and that's helped already. But what I've also done is really been dedicated about knitting a project in continental knitting, which means holding the yarn in my right hand or my left hand. And I can do that fine. I mean, it's just that for some reason, even if I can do it and I get in a great flow and everything, it's just not the same as knitting English style. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel like my, you know, it's like speaking a second language. If you are bilingual, you maybe understand what I mean. You know, you can speak fluently in, you know, your second language, but there's often a language for you, or usually like your mother tongue, which is just, speaking it is like breathing. Like, it's just so easy and comfortable and wonderful to just be able to speak your mother tongue. I don't know. Some of you will understand what I mean, I know. But that's how English style knitting feels to me. It feels like speaking my mother tongue, my native language. Even if I can knit continental and knit fast and knit comfortably, it just will never feel like home. I don't know if that sounds a little bit dramatic. But I knit the whole yoke part. I mean, except for now I'm in the color work, which means I'm knitting with both hands. Maybe I could switch to just continental with both colors, but I'm knitting, you know, with both, like this, both yarns, you know, in different hands. But I knit the whole beginning in continental, and this whole entire little mini sweater is going to be exclusively continental. And I've thought, okay, in order to switch things up, because I've heard that that's also good if you have any kind of repetitive stress injury from knitting, is to have various projects with various yarn weights, maybe have a crochet project, but also maybe to have a project that you knit in a different style than the one that causes you, or started causing you, kind of issues. So I am trying to have a resolution to have one project on the needles at all times, we could say, that is knit exclusively continental style, so that I have a break from knitting English. And maybe, hopefully, that saves me from also further exacerbating that little weakness that I have in my right arm from English knitting. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like cable knitting in continental is just also fine and also fast. It's just not like my thing. It's just not like I feel like the native language thing is just the perfect way to say it for me. I don't know. Knitting injuries are just so funny to talk about, because you think that like a little soft, relaxed craft would be something that wouldn't cause you any pain or trouble, but isn't the case, unfortunately, always. Yeah, at least not for me, but we'll see. So I'm gonna try to have one exclusive continental project from now on, just to have a little bit of, you know, variety for myself. And I think having, you know, a little stockinette sweater on the needles, or, you know, something like that, is a good solution. Anyway, I think that's all I have for you this week. It's been quite a short episode, but I have to get back to picking things up a little bit, because when Esmeralda wakes up and she's ready, I just want to be there for her and sit with her, because I know she's not feeling that well and she's a little bit lethargic. So I'm going to do that now. Maybe I'll get a couple of rounds in knitting on this, or maybe some rows on my sleeves. We'll see. But I'd love to hear what you're working on right now, what you've been up to, what you've been inspired by as the seasons begin to turn. I know in the northern and southern hemisphere, they're both kind of shifting in different directions. So I'd love to hear from you. I record new videos every week, but in the meantime, if you'd like to get in touch, you can find me on Instagram as Merryweather Knitting, and you can also find me on Ravelry as gabriellak, as well as on my website, merryweatherliving.com. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below or on any of those platforms. If you enjoyed this video today, please leave a like, and if you are interested in joining along next week and in following episodes, you can always subscribe and you'll be notified when I upload a new video. until next time, I wish you lots of very happy knitting and wonderful crafting. See you later. Bye.